Welcome back to my channel, everybody. There is a packing day, and this is pack and chat number 11. I don't have a whole lot to do today, so hopefully this video won't be too awfully long. I know some of you like the long ones, but I have 2 hours before the last mail call, and let's get started. The first order is to June in Arizona. She ordered 3 of the Myth of the Mermaid pins. And here are your 3 pins. All three single tips. So, as I was preparing for this order today, this video, I totally forgot to look for new tags to do. And as of yet, nobody has mentioned anything about if they know where to get any. So, I mean, I need to spend some time looking, and right now my time is just really monopolized. But I will eventually try and find another tag to answer. So I decided today I am going to basically just tell you about a little bit more about me and like where I was born and where we moved on to from then and blah blah blah. But the first color we're going to use is the other green one that I left off with yesterday. I only have one of these set up, so we will be moving on to another color after this. So 1972, the day before Election Day, I was born, November 1st. And at that moment, President Nixon was still in office. I am not too big on history, so I'm not sure when it was that he stepped down. But I did learn something recently, that he was not impeached. You know, I always thought he was impeached, but since this new president has been in office, my husband has had the news on, a news channel on, constantly. So I've learned a bit more about politics and presidential history, and realized that, well, not realized, I discovered by asking questions and found out, oh, Nixon was not impeached. So, from there, around 9 months old, maybe younger, I think I was 3 months old. My dad was in the Air Force when I was born, and I showed you a picture in one of my previous videos of my passport picture that I kindly chewed up when I was teething. And it's the only one I have. But, I found out, oh, well, what we did, my dad was stationed over in Korea, and we followed shortly after, I guess. But, anyway, before that happened, I was born in Oklahoma City, but we didn't live in Oklahoma. We lived in Midwest City, Iowa. And it's kind of hard for me to remember that we lived there because, I mean, I know where I was born, but I never realized, well, I didn't realize until I, you know, had looked at my birth certificate to see that, you know, my parents had addresses in Iowa. So, yeah, we lived in Iowa. I didn't live there long, obviously, because we moved to Korea around, you know, 3 months old, something like that, 3 or 6 months old. And when we lived there, we had a woman, I guess, that helped my mom with me. And apparently they loved me. But I guess over there, I don't know if it's everybody, but they referred to my parents as Donnie's mommy and Donnie's daddy. So I don't even know if they knew what their names were, but that's how they always referenced my parents, were Donnie's mommy and Donnie's daddy. My dad brought back a couple of songs from there, and I actually sang one for quite a while. I would go around singing it. I'm not going to sing it now because I know the words still, but I thought it was neat that, you know, it was a song that we learned in Korea, and it was brought back with us and carried on. But while we lived in Korea, my mom got pregnant with my brother. So we always tease him that he was made in Korea. Said he needs to get a tattoo stamped on the bottom of his foot that says made in Korea. Yeah. Alright, so June, your order is ready. Thank you very much for your order. And I have the envelopes upside down. Here we go. Alright. So there is your order right there. My husband has got his station set up in the family room, which is right outside of my craft room. And I'm giving him more and more responsibilities. Since he's making the pens, I just hand him the pages, the order, what are they called, the purchase orders, but they also have a copy of, for me to keep, which I use those copies to make sure I get the right orders and quantities and whatnot. Well, when he separated them, he mistakenly didn't realize that they look differently, and so he some of your receipts, you'll see check marks and whatnot on them, because that's what he used to mark off when he was done with them. Then when I realized that he was using the wrong copies, I let him know. So some of yours won't have any check marks on them, but they don't mean anything. They were just internal markings. So our next order goes to Ethel in Mississippi. I think that's what MS is. Jim, do you know what the abbreviation MS is? What state? Mississippi. Yeah, he thinks it's Mississippi too, so. No, Mississippi is MI. Isn't it? No, that's Michigan. MS, you said? Yeah, MS. But Ethel ordered the purple. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Mississippi. Okay, so it is Mississippi. There's your drill tip. There's your diamond. So we weren't in Korea very long because my brother was not born there. He was born in Nebraska, where my dad was stationed after he got back from Korea. And it took me a long time to try and understand why my dad was in Korea. When I was little, I actually thought he fought in the Korean War, but that was before his time. So he was a a naval policeman. Someone told me what it was, and I forgot already. It's the Air Force Police, so AFP. It's not. He wasn't an MP, but the equivalent to what an MP is in the Army. And he actually has issues with his knees from, I don't know if it's from doing that, but he got he was medically discharged from the Air Force. But he actually left the Air Force after my brother was born, when his 4 years were done. He enlisted later when he re-enlisted when my mom got pregnant with my other brother, but that's further on down the line. So we lived in, I think we lived in Omaha, I'm not sure. And let's see, where do I know we weren't moved from there? In my memory, we went from Nebraska to Colorado. But I don't know. That may be so. I don't know. But my dad, let's see, re-enlisted when we were in Colorado. I don't know if he was still in the Air Force when we moved there. We only lived there 4 years. And my second brother was born towards the end of our living there. So I know he was in the Air Force when my second brother was born as well. But then I think he got medically discharged after he was born, and then he went to seminary school in Colorado. We live in Colorado Springs. All right, so Ethel, your order is ready. And here is your receipt. I remember things in Colorado, hurting myself on the playground. Never broke any bones though. But I remember ripping my pants on the fence because I was trying to climb the fence. I remember taking a quarter out of my mom's purse to go get ice cream. And the ice cream man said that I had enough to buy 4. Didn't realize that it was a silver dollar. I remember my mom being really upset. Sure, we could have used that dollar. My mom had a in-home daycare center at that time. Next order goes to Lois in Florida. And I don't think this is Lois's order. Oh wait, that's right. She had to place a second order because she forgot to add her tips. So let me get them in the right position. So she's got a purple Prismatic Beauty and 2 Myth of the Mermaid tails with 3 placers. Well, one's a straightener and one's a 3-placer. So here is your purple Prismatic Beauty. Prismatic, beautiful. And here is your Rose Straightener Mermaid Pen. And here is your 3-placer Mermaid Pen. And here is your bit of wax to go with it. Alright, so let's see, where was I? Colorado. Yeah, I remember a lot from Colorado because I was at that age where you start remembering things. So I remember we went to Stratton Meadows Elementary for my kindergarten year. Well, part of it, because we had started somewhere else in Nebraska. I think we moved in the middle of the school year. And then first grade, second, and third, I think I was in that same school. But we moved to well, we didn't move. We went to a private school for the ending of that year, and that school was a lot further of a walk. I remember that. And I do remember how they do things like it's like they did things like they had a teacher in the room, but basically you got workbooks and you did things yourself. Well, I cheated. And because, see, after you were done with a workbook, you would take it over to the answer stand. You'd find the book that you're working on, and you'd correct yourself. So it was basically on the honor system. Well, I wasn't being honest, I guess, because it was too hard for me. And I realized, hey, the answers are right here. Well, of course, they figured it out, because when it came time to do the testing for that book, I couldn't get the answers right, because I don't know if my parents felt that... I was in 4th grade when we were doing that because we moved in the middle of the school year to a different house, and after my brother was born, and I went to a different school, a public school, and my teacher's name was Mr. Payne. I remember that. But shortly after I started there, he left on medical leave for something and never came back. At least during that school year he didn't. And that's all gone. Let's go with the new tape. He, the house we lived in was at the bottom of a very steep hill. I remember because we would, well, a friend I had would ride their bike down the hill. It was so scary because you wouldn't pedal. You would just let you'd have to be really good at riding bikes, I guess. I don't know if I was that good, but I remember you could take your roller skates to school, and there was kids always skating around on their brakes, and I actually was able to do that. Oh, it was so fun. And there was a big hill behind the school, grassy hill, and one time we flew kites, the school, you know, during school. I think that was probably the funnest school I went to that I can remember from when I was younger. And that's where I learned my first cuss word. I didn't spell it right, but you can bet I didn't use it because, you know, my dad was in school to be a pastor. Oh my goodness, imagine a PK who cusses. All right, Lois, your order is ready to be sent out to Florida. And let me show you your receipt here. There is your Prismatic Beauty and your 2 mermaid pins. You asked for one with a straightener, one with a 3-prong placer, and here are your multi-placers that you purchased. Well, one's a rose straightener and one's the wax placer. But let's see. We didn't live there long. I remember it was a 3-bedroom, and my 2 brothers shared a room. It was like a tri-level home. The bedrooms, well, it was probably only a 2-bedroom, really, but they converted it into a 3-bedroom. The top level was only like a half a flight up of stairs up to the level with the 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. And my parents had one, my brothers had one. And then there was a basement, which was a finished basement. It was concrete floors, which was our playroom. But there was also a bedroom down there, and that was my bedroom. So I kind of felt like I had my own little apartment when I was in 4th grade, you know. It had a window level to the backyard. But the thing is down there, it was so cold. Because even my bedroom was covered in cement. Or concrete, whatever kind of flooring they call it. And I had my own bathroom down there. Nobody else used it. Next order goes to, I'm still have Lois's order here. Let's see. Gotta get these in the right order. Order date. Hold on. I just gotta check these orders. The dates on them. Okay, so these are the newer ones. They need to stay on top. Alright. Next order goes to Ashley. She has been helping me with the shop recently with descriptions while, I think I said this in my last video. She's helping me while Dorothy is on the mend. But she ordered a cutesy chic pink pen. Okay, wrong order. That's not the right order. Where is your order? Oh wait, that's part of it. Okay, a cutesy chic pen in pink. Which is this one? It says love, I think. It has the L and the O. It kind of looks like it says love, but it says create, dream, imagine. And some of the flowers make it look like there's a cursive L and an O right there. So I was wrong. It doesn't say love. It's just very cutesy. And whoop, there's your drill tip. And you ordered a Prismatic Beauty in purple as well. And there is your Prismatic Beauty in purple. And you ordered the Loud and Proud Aqua Blue with hearts. And that is this one. With a cute purple top. Alright, so my bedroom. I remember in the playroom, my mom continued to do her daycare when we were living in that house. So the playroom, sometimes we'd have kids early in the morning, so we had a pair of bunk beds in the playroom. And they would come in, and I remember for some reason that I always thought they were spending the night. But I guess it was just that they came early in the morning. I wish my mom was here for me to ask her these things. But anyway, I guess she stopped doing her... Oh, and there's your drill tip on that. Sorry. Daycare while we lived in that home, because we were going to be eventually moving to where my dad was going to be planting his church. So she stopped doing the daycare, and once that was done, I think the bunk beds were taken out of the playroom, because then my dad started building a train set. He built this whole table for his train set, and then the thing about this table was kind of cool is you could flip it over and it had race car tracks on that side. And I think he did that for my brother, because my brother had gotten the race cars for Christmas or something. And yeah, because that was the same year I got my dollhouse. I wanted a Barbie dream house, but I got a Better Homes and Garden miniatures house. I was disappointed, but in the long run, you know, I played with that dollhouse a long time. I loved it. But so my dad wanted, I'm the oldest, okay, and I guess because my brother wasn't old enough, I don't know why, but he always wanted me to be involved with all his manly hobbies. I don't know. I was not interested in the racetracks. But if you ask one question, you know, he's like, come on, I'll show you, and kind of thing. So I ended up having to, I don't know. For some reason, I want to think that I actually was interested in that. But he took that, he really got into the model train thing. And because I remember once we moved to Oregon, and he was with his wife he is now when he remarried. That garage was an entire train city, and it was huge. And I remember when he moved, when he had to take it down, he had to saw the pieces apart in order to make room. I don't know why. I think because he needed the garage. Oh yeah, because he started getting into remodeling old cars or trucks. He had a 1940 Ford blue, and if I can remember, this is the first clip, so I should be able to remember. I'll show you a picture of it. And this picture is of my dad back when he was younger than I am now. Crazy. It was the year, it was 1994. Because it was the year Stephanie was a baby. The year she was born. The summer of 1994, actually. So that would mean my dad was 42. Yep. He was 42. And I'm 46, so crazy. He had dark hair. I mean, my dad still has all his hair. He has a lot of hair, but it's like completely white now. And he had that truck. He loved that truck. But when he had his business, his vacuum cleaner business, things were really rough. And he ended up selling it to buy inventory for like something crazy, like $14,000. Or maybe it was only 7, I don't know. But I was shocked. I'm like, you can buy new cars for more than that. I mean, I would think that a classic would run for more than that. But, yeah. See, I'm just jumping all over the place. At least I have something. It's just how I get myself talking, finding something to talk about. So that kind of works. But, yeah, because in the timeline of things, we still live in Colorado. But that truck wasn't until later. So, in Colorado, my dad graduated when we lived in that second house. I think we finished school first. No, we didn't. It was in the middle of a... No, we did move in on June 1st. So that was 3rd grade that I was in there, because I remember starting school here in Oregon when I was in 4th grade. I was in 4th grade, yeah. So I finished 3rd grade there. So yeah, we lived there, but I could have swore I was in kindergarten. Oh yeah, it was kindergarten. We moved there when I was in kindergarten in the middle of the school year to Colorado. And then we moved at the end of 3rd grade, so that's 4 years, yeah. And Ashley, your order is ready. Thank you for placing yet another order. Always appreciate repeat comers. Repeat comers. Repeat something. I don't want to call you customers just because you're more, you know, you guys that are watching these, you're more, you know, my diamond painting family. So it's like calling you customers just doesn't feel right. So there's your receipt, your cutesy pin, your loud and proud, and your prismatic beauty. You're going to have to show us an updated picture of your collection once you get a chance, once you get this order in. I'd love to see your new collection. Alexa, cancel timer.
28 minutes time to cancel.
So that means I've got a minute to switch clips. And let's see whose order's next, though. It's Michelle in New York. She ordered the Trip to Paris. This is one of my newer pens. I'm not sure if I showed anyone or showed this anywhere, but here it says on here, oh, what does it say? Sweet Happiness, Loy 520. I don't know if that's supposed to be love, but it's L-O. Yeah, it's Love 520. Sorry. And it's got a little keychain charm with an Eiffel Tower that matches the pen. And here is your drill tip. We did have 4, but there was Maker's Special. Might be the 4th one, but boo-boos happen. So we're down to 2 left. I'll be right back. So if I haven't shown you yet what they look like, that's what they look like. And I have pink and black left. Those 2. And they all say the Sweet Happiness Love 520 on them. I don't know what the 520 means, but I had a white one as well. And that one, well, it's a Maker's Special now, which means one of these days I'll put them up in the shop at a reduced price. But some of them, they have things that are wrong with them. So there's the white one, but the tip had to be used on a different pen. So I could still make this into a diamond painting pen, but it's not going to look like the other one with the cap. It'll be slightly different. But just letting you know, I'm gathering up a bunch of Maker Specials, I tell you. So I have this extra piece to secure the chain. Actually, what I'm going to do for you, Michelle, I'm not sure if you watch these videos. This looks like it's your first order. I'm going to take off the chain here, and I'm going to wrap it in this little piece, this extra piece of bubble wrap, and so it will be protected all by itself. It's a cute little keychain. Okay, so what we were talking about. Oh, we were talking about the my dad's hobby. Oh, okay. So anyway, my dad graduates from seminary school. It was the NBC, which is the Nazarene Bible College in I don't know if the college is in Colorado Springs, but we lived in Colorado Springs. And the funny thing is, I actually found my house on my street that we lived on Google Maps, Google World. It was pretty interesting to see because we had these two, I don't know what kind of trees they are. They're like really large bushes, but they're like very thin and they go up. We had one on each side of our driveway, and I used to remember that's how I recognized my house, was by those two trees. And I remember the sidewalk going up, and then we had a chain link fence around it, and then our driveway was just like the kind of driveway that had two pieces of cement. It didn't have like a paved driveway. It had, you know, just like those two pieces of asphalt, not asphalt, but the sidewalk cement kind of stuff for the driveway, and it was a long driveway. And then the garage was separated, and my dad made his office into his office. But I remember looking at the picture, and the house, it looks dilapidated. One of the trees is dead. I'm putting this in here next to your pen. And it was just so sad. So sad seeing that house that we lived in for so long. I have so many memories from that house, inside and out, obviously. And then, you know, to see it like that, I probably would have rather just remembered it the way I remember it. But now I've got this image of a completely different house. I mean, it looks so much smaller than I remember it. Well, you know, I was smaller back then too. But it's not how I remember the house, and I don't like having the image that I have of it now obscuring my memories. I remember my chore was to water the lawn, and I had to go out and move the sprinkler. And seeing the house the way it is now, that lawn was dead. It's like somebody's not watering that lawn. We even had tomato plants around the side of the house because I remember having to cover them up because we had a hailstorm. And I'd have to cover them up to keep them protected. But one of the things I wanted to say was that one thing I remembered around the school, there was this large ditch. I don't know what the ditch was for because it was dry. There was nothing running through it. And I guess we had a tornado. No, it was either a tornado or an earthquake. I can't remember. I didn't feel it or whatnot, but I remember going to school that next day, and that whole ditch, it was cracked. I mean, it was one of the cracked. It looked like a tornado ran through it. So, but it could have been an earthquake too. I don't know. But this is a cute little package, Michelle. Your little hump there. So your order is ready. Thank you for placing your first order. Welcome to our world. And here is your receipt. Oop! Don't look at that. There. There's your receipt. And we get that going. So this is a pretty, like I said, a pretty small order. Yeah, there weren't as many orders for this. This is basically the orders that came in between Sunday afternoon to Monday, or to Tuesday afternoon. Anything after that came in after Tuesday is being shipped Friday. And my husband's already out there making those orders that you guys have placed, so we can get them out on time. Next order goes to Maria in South Carolina. She ordered a pink well, the mermaid tail, 1 pen. There is your single placer, or your pen. And it looks like this is her first order. I'm hoping, you know, I'm right about if there's no star that it means you haven't ordered before. If I'm wrong, or if I say you're a first time orderer, if you could like make a comment down below and let me know, yeah, that was my first, this is my first order, or no, I've ordered before, then, you know, unless you ordered it under guest, then I don't know how to figure it out, what the stars mean, because the stars I was led to believe meant that you were a return purchaser, person, friend, a returning friend who likes my pens. So this next one is blue, as you can see, and get this going. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, that kind of scared me, seeing that ditch all. Oh, there's just so many memories from Colorado that I could go on all day. Well, like there was a park we'd go to that had a little creek, but it looked like it was a man-made creek because the walls were made out of the walls of the creek. It actually had walls, yes, and it ran through the park, and they were made out of big blocks of wood, and it had tar holding it together between the wood, but it was full of crawdads. I remember I liked looking at the crawdads, but I didn't like touching them, and I definitely wouldn't eat them. Well, at that point, I probably did, because I didn't start having my distaste for seafood until, after we were in Oregon. That's a whole other story. But, anyway, let's move out of Colorado. My dad graduated, and he was given the place to plant his church. We moved to Oregon. And that's where he was to plant his church. So while he was looking for a place for us to live in the area we were going to be planting the church, I guess, I stayed with an uncle and aunt I'd never met before, which was my dad's brother. And I stayed with them and their infant daughter. I stayed in the room with her, and the funny thing is they actually lived about 2.5 hours away from the place where we eventually got a house. So I didn't see my parents for a little while, but and it was just me. My other siblings, my brothers, I don't know where they stayed at that point. I was still young, you know, pretty young. I was 8. And, but then when my dad found they got a house and we moved into it, it was in Medford. And we lived there for about 4 years. And that was an adventure, I tell you. All the different things that happened through life back then. I remember when Maria in South Carolina, your order is ready. Welcome to our world if this is indeed your first purchase. And thank you very much. Here is your receipt. And we'll get that out the door for you. So Medford, gosh, I remember the first house we lived in was at a street that was at the base of a hill. So there was more houses up above us, but yeah, we lived on the street that was down below, and there was not really an alleyway, because it was like a walkway that went from our street to the street up above. Next order is to Cassandra, and she has ordered before. In fact, I think there was an order for her in Monday's shipment, if I remember right. She ordered a multi-placer. Let's see, a three wax placer and a. Okay, she ordered 2 3 placers, and she wanted them put on a Myth of the Mermaid and a teal peacock pen. So here we are. There's your 2 3 placers on your 2 pens. And here's the wax for you. And let's get these wrapped. And this was another one of those things where I was too scared to do it, but I used to love watching the boys in the neighborhood take their bike to the very top of the hill, that walkway, and then ride down going super fast. Like, they had their feet up on the handlebars. And oh my gosh, back then we didn't have helmets or anything. Gosh, I was so cautious when I was a kid. I mean, I still am. I wouldn't do crazy things like that. That's probably why I never broke an arm. But that was the house we lived in when my sister was born. So she was born in Medford. And so I was born in Oklahoma. My first brother was born in Nebraska. My second brother was born in Colorado. And my sister was born in Oregon. So none of us were born in the same place. My mom was born in the same city as I was. But my dad was a Californian. So my mom and I had that similarity. Had that thing in common. So anyway, my sister was born, and then we moved to another house, and let's see, it was actually one of the houses on the streets that were above where we were. But you know, for the life of me, when my dad lived there, it's been a long time since he lived in Medford, but I don't remember those streets. I don't even remember that hill. I think we must have went a different direction when we go to his house, but okay. Well, I'll explain why. Because after my mom and dad split up, the house we were living in, of course we all moved out, and then, you know, that my parents were separated for 3 years, and then they were divorced, and then a couple months later my dad met his wife. I mean, married the wife he's with now. I mean, they didn't, I don't know how that worked, but it was obvious my parents were not going to be getting back together. So he moved on. And so shortly after they got married, they got married in Roseburg. And then they moved to Medford, where they bought a house together. And chance would have it that the house they bought was the house that my parents lived in when they split up. So it was pretty awkward visiting my dad in that house and remembering, you know, when we lived there as a, you know, complete family with mom and dad and all us siblings. But my dad lived there for quite some time, and then he started his business. He'd been working for Kirby for many years, and when he finally made his own distributorship, he moved because he couldn't do it. He couldn't be a distributor there. He actually did have it in a town that was about 10 miles outside of Medford, in Ashland, and he would. Let's see, Cassandra, your order is ready. Thank you very much. And let me show you your receipts. There you go. Here's your 3 placers, your pink tail, and your peacock. I keep wanting to say peacock. Peacock pizzazz filled. Can you see it? Here, let's do it this way. There you go. And it was filled. I don't know if you saw that. I forgot to make sure to show you the filling. So my this was many years later when my dad started his distributorship, but he lived in that house for quite a long time, and I actually had met my husband and gotten married, and then I was living in California with his parents because that's how much of a, you know, head of household he was. He didn't, you know, have a job, and he didn't have a place for us to call our own. So we lived with his parents, and my dad calls and offered me a job to work for him in the telemarketing department, and I wasn't working at the time because I was in a state I didn't know and whatnot. So, or maybe I was working. I do remember getting a couple of different jobs when I lived down there, but anyway, I jumped at the chance. We moved in up there. We actually stayed in his little 15-foot travel trailer in Ashland. It was so tiny, and we had a cat and a rabbit that lived in there with us. Boy, was that crowded. Let's see. Get my next order here. Next one is to Aloha or Aloha. You gotta tell me how to say your name. In Pennsylvania. I know she has ordered before because I recognize her name. She ordered the Chic Sparkle Mermaid Pen with mermaid scales and the colorfully gemmed in yellow with filling. So there's your yellow filled pen. Here's your drill tip. And here is your Chic Sparkle with mermaid scales. Isn't that pretty? Look at all the glitter. I love this pen. So I've skipped ahead, haven't I? I'll tell that story anyway. So we were just barely married. We hadn't been married very long. And so we lived in this trailer, and I could tell you stories, but there was a time it was just really expensive for. I mean, I was making very low wages, and probably just minimum wage. And you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put the wax. I forgot to put your wax in your order. So let me get back to this. I gotta find that one. That was quite a while back too, wasn't it? No, that was just Cassandra. So that was 2. Get that. Here we are. Okay. So I'm gonna try to sneak it in there. I will glue it or tape it back down very carefully. I've had to do this once before. I just have a hard time remembering. It was a keychain last time that I forgot to include. When I had those other pens that had keychains with them. All right. But with wages the way they were, how low I was getting paid, I just couldn't afford to stay in that place. We had a tiny fridge, so we couldn't really store food. There was no freezer. I mean, the freezer was the size of a, hamburger helper box. We had no hot water. We had to boil our water to do dishes. We had to take public showers in the public showers they had there because it was a hot springs, and they had a swimming pool for... We didn't live there during the summertime, so we didn't get to swim. Okay, so your wax is in your order now. And I was paying $90 a week. So that's $360 for just a spot. Yeah, it included the electricity, but we used so little electricity. We had to use public toilets. We had to use public showers. It's such a small space that it gets messy so easy. And I think I did, I think I went to my dad's to do laundry. Yeah. And, it was just not a good situation. And there was my husband and I got into an argument. And, it was really loud, and some of the other people that lived there complained to the management. They came pounding on the door. There was a loud thunderstorm that night, I remember. And they said one of us had to leave. And of course my husband thought they meant permanently. So he decided he was going to go try and find his best friend, Steve, his old drug dealer buddy. So, he took off with our car, my transportation, my only transportation to and from work. And, since my dad and I worked together, he would just pick me up on his way in after that happened. I actually decided I couldn't live there anymore, and I was by myself, and I didn't want to be there by myself. I packed everything up and moved to my dad's house. Well, Ron was in California doing whatever. He would do that so many times while we were married, just screwing around. Because he didn't have a life. I mean, he didn't have a job. He didn't have responsibilities because, he was a free spirit. But anyway, so while he was gone, I decided, you know what, I'm not doing this. I'm not staying in this crap hole. And so I moved out, stayed with my dad, and I told my dad that I wanted to move back up where my mom lived, because that's where I liked it, and that's where I was living before we moved to California with his parents. And I was able to, he helped me get, I guess, I don't know if he helped me or if I actually arranged it myself. I talked to the telemarketing supervisor, well, the head of the telemarketing for that whole division. And she's the one that had trained me back when I was 15. If I could get a job there, up where, in Eugene. So I arranged my own job, and I negotiated my pay and everything. And I moved up there, moved in with my mom. And your order is ready, Aloha. Thank you very much for your order. Here is your receipt, your mermaid scale, and your filled, colorfully gemmed in yellow. So I had to get my mom's care provider to come pick me up, and he packed up all my belongings that I had. I think we had to leave, we actually left most of our belongings down in California in a storage shed. And what I did have, my rabbit and my cat and my clothes brought with me in my, he later became my stepdad, but in his little Mustang 2. No. That was my car, because I bought that from him. It was a different vehicle. I don't know. Anyway, I don't remember what car we came in. If Ron took off in my car, I don't remember. I don't think I had my own vehicle at the time. But we moved up, stayed with my mom. I did. And let's get to the next order, which is, I think this is the one I just did, right? Yeah. Next one goes to Christina in Washington. She ordered a silver prismatic beauty, glitz and glam in sky blue with blue crystals, and a Cuckoo Maloo magnifier pen. That's a new one I have. We didn't have any idea what to name it, but the pen says Cuckoo Maloo on it. And it has this little magnifying glass. Can you see better now? And it has this itty bitty creature holding on to the pen, and he does come off. Look at that. And he just kind of hanging around. Kind of keeps your magnifying glass from getting lost. But there's your drill tip, and it's a very thin pin. It's like almost like so I don't know. It's thinner than the pink ones, so these are really small. I'm thinking of offering to add crystals to these, so let me know if that's something people might be interested in. This is the first one that's anyone's picked out. Alexa, cancel timer.
There are no timers set.
Okay. So I have a minute left. So just let me know your thoughts on this one. But I think this guy's really cute. Anyway, there's your prismatic beauty in silver. And here is your, what was it called? Glitz and Glam. It's the one that has the little charm hanging from it. The sparkle's really pretty. There's a gem, and there's your drill tip. Anyway, so now I'm living with my mom up in Eugene, and of course my younger brother and sister are still living at home. And then when Ron runs out of ways to get his beer, because he had taken my, I am so sorry about that. I am so scatterbrained. I forgot I had a timer go off, and so I almost have this completely wrapped, but it's the same order I was wrapping when it cut off. But I had to actually download my last clip onto my computer so I could play it and see where I left off, because my camera itself is really hard to you can't really fast forward to the end of a 29-minute video to see where the last part was. So anyway, that took me forever. Download that and see where I left off. So Christina, your order is ready. And let me show you your receipt. Thank you again for placing an order. There is your silver prismatic beauty, your glitz and glam in sky blue. Oh, it's not wanting to focus now. And your Cuckoo Maloo magnifier pen. And what I was saying was that my husband ran out of money to buy his beer, because what he was using was my BP credit card, and he was using it for cigarettes and beer and gas, and he had actually called me and told me he was filling up the tank and he was going to go look for his kids from his first marriage, because he blew that relationship and that opportunity a long time ago. Let me start this next order. It goes to Julie in United Kingdom, West Yorkshire. She ordered the Myth of the Mermaid and a clearly rounded in pink, filled with gems. So there's your pink gem filled drill tip. Myth of the Mermaid. And so he goes to the gas station to fill up with my card, and lo and behold, they take the card and destroy it because we were so over the limit. Oh my gosh, that man, he wrecked my credit so bad. And then shortly after that, my vehicle broke down that he was using. So yeah, he did have the car. And so I had to start my new job, and wait for my first paycheck so that I could rent a U-Haul that he could tow my car back up to Oregon. And he brought with him all of our stuff that was in storage down there, because we weren't able to bring it all when my dad offered me the job, since we were going to be living in that tiny trailer. But my brother and sister were still living with my mom, and I was sleeping, I think, in my brother's room until Ron got there. And then when Ron got there and put all our stuff in my mom's garage, and we moved out into the garage and stayed on the hide-a-bed, and that's what we slept on, was in her garage, until I was able to get my own place. And at that point, my grandmother was still alive, and her and my mom helped us get into an apartment. I remember the rent was only $300 a month. It was a one-bedroom apartment, but that was still cheaper than paying for that little tiny trailer spot. And, you know, we had all the amenities, you know, kitchen and bathroom, toilet. So that was a much better situation for us. And my job was just around the corner from my job. All right, Julie, your order is ready, and it looks like this is your first order, so thank you very much for placing an order, and welcome to our world. Let me get your receipt and show you your order. Here's your Mirth of the Mermaid and your filled pink clearly rounded. So when we got into our apartment, you know, I worked 40 hours a week. I was actually the head of the department at this office, and I trained people, and I was really good at my job. And I was only 19, but I married my husband when I was 17. Next order goes to Linda in Wisconsin, and she ordered a cutesy chic pink with hearts. And there's your pink with hearts, and there's your drill tip. So we lived there for a while, and then I got pregnant with Ayla, and let's see, she was actually born 2 years, 2 months exactly from the day we got married. And, you know, once, you know, I got pregnant, I knew in my mind that we needed to be stable. But when I was like 5 months pregnant, I ended up losing my job because I had said something to my bosses or something, that I was thinking that I might move to California. I didn't say for sure. And when I found out I was pregnant, I told them that I would need to take some, you know, time off once in a while for doctor appointments, because I worked a split shift, which sucked. I worked like 9 or 8 in the morning until noon, and then I worked from like 5 to 9. And then I worked Fridays, was just the morning shift, and I also worked Saturday for half a day. So I worked 6 days a week, I was pregnant. My husband didn't clean the house. So, you know, smells and stuff would get to me. I would get really nauseous. Mold, I couldn't handle it because the dishes would only get done once a week on the weekends. On Sunday when I had the day off, he wouldn't do anything. I worked split shift. I'd come home in the afternoon and take a nap and then go back to work. Come home at night, make dinner, and then go to bed. So I was being run ragged. But when I told my employer that I was going to need to take some time off for doctor's appointments, he basically took that upon him to say I wasn't going to be working there anymore because I was going to move to California. So he fired me. So I lost my job. And we had to move back in with his parents while I'm pregnant. So that's why Ayla was born in California. So Linda, your order is ready. Thank you very much for placing your order. It looks like it's your first one. Welcome to our world. Here is your receipt. I saw that. Hey, I saw that. I saw that. Here's your receipt for the cutesy chic pink with hearts. So now we're living back in California again. At least we had our own bedroom. It was actually 2 single beds that we put together to make one, but it wasn't very comfortable, so we ended up both just sleeping together on the one single bed. It was a bunk bed set that, you know, you could put side by side or make into single beds. And until it got to the point where she was about to be born. And I actually got a job. I had 2 different jobs at one time, working, you know, living down there when I was pregnant. Next order goes to Donna, D-O-N-A. It's like my name is D-O-N-I, so it's Donnie, so maybe that's Donna. In New Mexico, she ordered the clearly rounded in green, and she did want it filled. So there is your green filled pin, your drill tip. So I am having to go through birthing classes and everything. This is my first kid. I'm living with parents. I'm 19 years old. I have a husband that just wants to go and party and drink beer all the time and hang out with his friends because he's from California, so, you know, that's his area. He would take off, and this was before cell phones, and I wouldn't know where he was when he was coming back. He went to take what little bit of money we had one time because I was getting unemployment. And he went to the racetrack, well, car races, took his friends with him. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know when he was coming back. I sat on the porch and just did nothing, waiting for him to come on. And I hate thinking back on how I waited around for him to come back. All the time. I was always waiting for him. But I ended up having Ayla in California. And then I got a letter from, because we had been on the waiting list for Section 8 for years, for 2 years. And when Ayla was born, we were eligible for a 2-bedroom. Before we were only eligible for a 1-bedroom because it was just the 2 of us. So when I informed them, you know, that I had a baby and that I was now eligible for a larger place, it bumped me up to the top of the list because I'd been on the waiting list for so long. And now I was eligible for a different waiting list, and my queue position or whatever it was made it to where we were at the top of the list. So now we moved back to Oregon, and while we're waiting for all that to go through, we're living in my mom's new house in the garage that was semi-finished. So it was a little bit more comfortable, but it was still living in a garage with one of my parents. And, well, one of our parents, you know. So we're living there until our Section 8 finishes being being processed. And while we're living there, okay, this one's all gone. We get, he gets a phone call. Oh, I got a job back at my old job. I got my old job back because it was somebody else was running the place by that point. They actually called me. Oh, this one's all gone too. Dang it. They called me and offered me a job when they heard I was back in town. I guess my dad must have contacted them or something. I don't know. And so here I am working full time again. But I told them I couldn't work split shift because I lived way on the other side of the other town. And Teslin's home. Jim. Teslin's home.
What?
Teslin's home.
Okay.
Can you shut my door?
No.
Thanks. So we have to, I wouldn't be able to economically go back and forth. And just shortly after I'd started working there, again, my husband gets a phone call that his dad had a heart attack or something. So he decides to just, take off and go down there to help his dad out. All right, Donna, your order is ready. Please correct me if that is not how you say your name. It looks like this is your first order. So welcome to our world. And there's your order. And the receipt right here, clearly rounded in green with the filling added. I've got like 10 minutes that I've got to get this finished so he can get this to the post office. And we have 2 orders left. So we might have to pick up where I left off for my story of my life. But anyway, so my husband takes our only vehicle. He goes back to California. And next order is to Susan in Australia. And she ordered the clearly rounded in red. And here is your pin, your red filled. And here is your drill tip. And she ordered a rose straightener. Here is your rose straightener. And she ordered an extra sparkle and shine in sky blue. And here it is. There's your drill tip. And look at all that sparkle. Here we go. All that sparkle. So let's get this off to Australia. So now I have to find a way to get to work. I have to find somebody to watch our brand new baby, which I'm upset as it is that I'm having to go to work. She got here a little bit early. I'm upset I'm having to work when I have a brand new baby, but someone needs to, and he wasn't going to. So my best friend I find my best friend to babysit for me. She has a baby that's 7 months older than mine. She was still pregnant when I found out I was pregnant with Ayla. I found out on February 14th, actually, 1992. And so she babysits. Her husband actually comes and picks me up in the morning, me and the baby, and would drop me off at work and then take the baby to their house where she would babysit for me. And then he would pick me up from work, take me to their house where I could pick up Ayla, and then take me home. So I had to pay him gas, obviously. Be the right thing to do anyway. That's actually quite a ways to drive where I was staying with my mom. Until Ron eventually came back. I'm trying to remember. There were so many different times that he had done that. But, let's see, that time, I don't know, his parents probably just got tired of him being there, mooching off of him, and made him go back home. But he eventually came back. And he came back in time for us to get our first apartment on Section 8, which, I'm trying to remember which one it was. Because with Tesla, well, Ayla, we had her, I think there was only one place we lived in. No. Okay, we lived in 2 different places, but the first one was an apartment. It was an upstairs apartment. I remember that was a 2-bedroom. It was a nice little apartment. But once we moved in, after a little while, I decided, I decided to quit my job and go to school. And I don't know how we lived. I think we were living off of unemployment while I went to school. Either that or I didn't work while I was going to school, but I went to school at night. I remember that. And because I was not on welfare. I know that I did not ever end up getting cash assistance. So Susan in Australia, your order is ready. And it looks like this is your first order, so thank you very much for placing an order and welcome to our world. Here is your receipt for the clearly rounded in red filled, your multi-placer, and your extra sparkle and shine in sky blue. Let's get this out. I think we're gonna do it. Got one order left. So we're living in this apartment, and of course we've gotten into fights. He actually went to jail for other reasons because he didn't go to court on a ticket of some sort, probably from driving without insurance or driving without a license or driving while suspended. And we ended up getting kicked out of those apartments. We got an eviction notice. I was devastated. And this last order goes to Mary Kay in Ohio. She ordered, let me just show you now, the Sparkle and Shine in royal blue and a My Little Pony pen. So here I'm devastated. We have to move in yet again with parents. And this time I moved in with my mom again. I don't think we could stay in the garage because I think my brother and his wife were living in the garage. I don't remember why we couldn't stay in her garage, but it might be because there was no room. Oh, it was because we had a baby, and let's see, I think yeah, I was pregnant with Stephanie. So oh, here, let me get your pins. Tesla's home and the chaos is ensuing outside the door. Here is your royal blue Sparkle and Shine. Oops. First one I dropped today. And here is your My Little Pony pen with a nice hefty weight to it. So we ended up sleeping on the living room floor at my mom's house. And that was so uncomfortable until we could find a place. We didn't have the deposit, I'm thinking, is why we had to move in with her. Yeah, because I remember begging my dad for money, and he couldn't do it at the time or whatever. So I think we did it with tax returns or something. But we finally got a place in a really bad neighborhood, and that's where we lived when Stephanie was born. Oh, perfect timing! I ran out of tape on this roll. And last pen. And that apartment was there. It was a little apartment complex, but there were so many drug dealers that lived there, and drug deals happening right there in the parking lot. Cockroaches, you know, all that fun stuff. And then my husband started getting into methamphetamines. And there was a point in time when we lived there that I actually had the police come to my door while his drug dealer was there at the house. saying that a neighbor reported that I was abusing my kids. Stephanie was just a baby and she was asleep. Ayla was about 2 years old and she was up, and the neighbors were over too. And he just asked to see her chest and her back. No marks, not a single mark on her. And that's all they did. They said, okay, thank you. At that point, I decided that we needed to get a divorce. I wasn't going to have my kids taken away and put in jeopardy because of his stupidity. And I was stupid for, allowing it to go that far, staying with him while he was doing drugs. But you live and you learn. And after that, I wouldn't tolerate any kind of drug use with anybody that I let in my life. To be continued. I will pick up on this next time. Just kind of gotta probably watch it so I know where I left off. But Mary Kay, your order is ready. Thank you very much. It looks like this is your first order as well. Thank you for placing your order and welcome to our world. Get this tucked away for you. And I will say my goodbye. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I really like those thumbs up. Subscribe if you already aren't. This is the song and dance, all the YouTubers, well, most of the YouTubers go through. Hit that bell if you want to be notified when I post my new videos. Sometimes I show pins in these videos that sell out quick. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Have fun diamond painting. And don't forget to always sparkle wherever you go and whatever you do. See you in my next video. Bye.